Hello everyone and welcome to my The Bold Fans channel. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Before we begin, please hit the subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. The Bold and the Beautiful BNB spoilers for Wednesday, August 12th, state that Steffy Forrester Finnegan, Jacqueline McInnes Wood, will make an upsetting discovery soon. Taylor Hayes, Rebecca Budig, will also respond to Deacon Sharp's, Sean Cannon marriage proposal, so this is what BNB fans should expect. Taylor was certainly taken aback when Deacon pulled out a ring at the Cliff home and proposed. This marriage proposal is happening extremely quickly, but Deacon clearly believes Taylor is the woman he wants to spend the rest of his life with. After Deacon delivers another romantic speech, he hopes Taylor makes him the happiest guy alive by becoming his wife. Deacon expects Taylor to say yes to their future together, but what response will she give him? Taylor adores Deacon and wants their relationship to continue in this positive direction, but are things moving too rapidly for her? Taylor may apply the brakes and delay her response, or she may say no to Deacon for the time being. However, it is possible that Taylor will become engrossed in the romance of it all and embrace what is in her heart. Taylor may eventually accept Deacon's proposal and celebrate with him while Steffy and John Finn Finnegan Tanner Novlin are out of town. Speaking of Finn and Steffy, they recently had a fantastic reunion outside the cathedral in Monaco. It was a lovely moment, but Steffy and Finn had no idea Sheila was nearby, spying on them. Sheila informed Finn that she would comply with his requests and fly back to Los Angeles, but she would be unable to resist staying and proving she has earned her reputation as a troublemaker. Steffy will have a heated encounter with Sheila on the beach in one of the next episodes. If Steffy spots Sheila in the distance and learns her mother-in-law has followed them all the way to Monaco, Wednesday's episode might be her first Steffy bombshell. According to the Bold and the Beautiful teasers, Sheila's arrival will quickly enrage Steffy, so keep an eye on the CBS drama. The mellow Mediterranean light poured through the big windows of the luxury room overlooking Monaco's bay, leaving long golden streaks on the polished marble floors. Steffy Forrester Finnegan stood barefoot near the balcony doors, her dark hair flowing around her shoulders and a silk robe loosely knotted around her waist. The sea breeze conveyed the distant murmur of waves and a faint buzz of yacht engines. She had been looking forward to this moment for weeks, the opportunity to escape Los Angeles, the relentless strain of Forrester creations, and the lingering shadows of the past and simply be with Finn again. Finn had arrived earlier that morning, appearing fatigued yet determined. Their reconnection had begun with quiet passion. He had drawn her into his arms as soon as the door closed behind him, and neither of them spoke for a long time. They just held on. Later, they strolled the same pathways they had once walked under even darker circumstances, when Steffy felt Finn had vanished forever. They gathered again at the modest stone chapel where Jesus had once appeared to her as a miracle. The recollection still had weight. Steffy felt it in her chest whenever she looked at him. "I needed this," she whispered softly, putting her forehead on his. "Only us. No interruptions. No family drama," Finn said, resting his hands on her waist. "That's exactly what I wanted too." His voice had a hint of something she couldn't quite place. Guilt, perhaps, or caution. She decided not to push it. Not yet. They spent the afternoon exploring the cliffside pathways overlooking the water. The sun was warm and the air was harsh with salt. Steffy laughed more freely than she had in months. Finn regarded her with that steady, protecting expression he always had when he sensed she was finally relaxing. For a short time everything seemed normal. Then, near a small overlook above a precipitous drop into the water, Steffy observed a figure standing farther down the route. A woman wearing a wide-brimmed hat and a light scarf wrapped high about the lower half of the face. Something about the way she held herself, the stillness, the little tilt of the head, made Steffy's pulse race. She stopped walking. Finn followed her eyes. His expression clenched for a half-second before he attempted to smooth it away. "Steffy," the woman turned. The scarf slipped just enough. "Sheila." The name struck Steffy like a physical blow. Every muscle in her body froze. The tranquil afternoon was disrupted in an instant. She took 3 strong strides forwards before Finn grabbed her arm. Don't, he whispered quietly. Not like this. But Steffy was already on her way. Her voice echoed across the path, crisp and clear. What the hell are you doing here? Sheila lowered her scarf fully. There was no point in faking anymore. She stood with her typical defiance mixed with what appeared to be desperation. I needed to see him. I needed to know he was fine. You followed us, Steffy remarked, her words harsh. You followed my spouse on our private excursion. After everything. After each pledge. After every warning. Sheila's gaze shifted to Finn and then back. He's my son. He's my husband. And Hayes is my child. You do not get to choose when you emerge in our lives. You don't get to arrive in Monaco as some terrible person who can't get away. Steffy's voice rose. I've spent years trying to keep this family safe from you. Years. And every time I think you've finally realized what you've done, you prove me wrong. Finn stepped between them, hands raised. Steffy, please. Let me handle this. Handle what? Steffy's laugh was brief and harsh. You knew she was here, right? That is why you have been so careful. That is why you kept looking over your shoulder. Finn's silence spoke for him. Sheila spoke again, but this time with a lower tone. I did not come to ruin anything. I couldn't stay in Los Angeles knowing you were both alone. I figured if I stayed out of sight. Out of sight? Steffy's voice crackled with rage. You do not get to define what constitutes a threat to my family. You shot us. You almost killed us. You manipulated everyone who offered you a chance. And now you're here in Monaco, on the one trip I begged for. And you expect me to believe it's about love. The wind picked up. Below them, the water slammed violently against the rocks. Steffy took another step forward. Her fists clutched at her sides. I want you gone. Tonight. On the next flight. And if I see you near us again, near Finn, near Hayes, near any of us, I'll make sure the entire world knows who you are. Sheila's expression tightened. You can't erase me. No matter how much you hate me. I don't hate you, Steffy replied, and the candor in her words surprised even her. I am afraid of what you will bring. There's a difference. The argument dragged on, voices rising, until Finn managed to draw Steffy back a few paces. Sheila paused for a while more before turning and walking down the trail, the scarf once again covering her face. Steffy watched her till she vanished around a turn. Her hands shook. Finn attempted to speak. Steffy raised a hand. Not yet. I need a minute, she said, walking further along the overlook, closer to the edge where the stone railing plummeted away into the high cliff face. The height made her stomach tighten, but she wanted the fresh air. She needed room to let out the wrath that was still blazing in her chest. Finn kept a safe distance behind, giving her space. What neither of them noticed was the loose part of railing near the far curve of the route. Years of exposure to salt air and weather had damaged the metal brackets. As Steffy leaned on it, repeating every word of the debate, the chunk gave way with a loud, piercing crack. She felt the earth tilt. She stood briefly. Her feet then left the stone and she fell, fingers scrabbling for anything solid. The drop wasn't direct into the water. There was a thin ledge of rock several feet below, followed by another steep pitch, but the speed was enough to strike horror through her. She grasped the splintered edge of the railing with one hand. The metal cut into her palm. Her body swung forcefully against the cliff face. Finn! He screamed. He was already sprinting. However, the gap was too vast. The railing continued to move under her weight. Her grip slipped. For a horrible second, she believed she was going to fall the rest of the way. Then another set of hands grasped her wrist. Sheila, she'd come back. It made no difference whether it was done instinctively or deliberately. She braced herself against the last solid section of the path and tugged with everything she had. Finn arrived seconds later, and together they dragged Steffy back to solid ground. She slumped on the stone, breathless, her palm bleeding and her whole body trembling. No one spoke for a long time. The only sounds were from the wind and the distant sea. Steffy gazed up at Sheila. The rage remained, but something else had broken through. shock, perplexity, and a reluctant awareness that the woman she despised the most in the world had just saved her life. Sheila's voice was harsh. Steffy said nothing but, "I heard you scream." Finn assisted her to her feet by wrapping his arm around her. Sheila took a step back, increasing the distance between them. "I should go," Sheila remarked, "before this gets worse." She turned and went away once more. This time, neither Steffy nor Finn called after her. Half a globe away, on a calm Los Angeles evening, Deacon Sharp stood in the living room of the house he and Taylor had been sharing more and more frequently. Soft music was playing from a speaker in the corner. Candles flared across the modest table. He had carefully arranged the event, knowing that Steffy and Finn's departure would provide them with a rare opportunity for uninterrupted leisure. Taylor sat on the couch, legs folded beneath her, watching him with a mix of wonder and warmth. The previous months had altered them both. The delicate relationship that had developed after so much history had evolved into something neither of them expected to desire again. Deacon had been patient. He had given her space when she needed it and remained steady when old wounds threatened to reopen. Tonight, he determined that patience had run its course. He crossed the room and dropped to one knee in front of her. Taylor's eyes widened. "Deacon." He took her hand. He spoke steadily, without the trepidation he expected. "I understand this may feel fast. I realize we both have a lot of history. But I also know that every day I spend with you feels like the first time I haven't been looking over my shoulder, waiting for the next calamity. Love you. I want a life with you that is not fleeting, cautious, or half-measured. Will you marry me?" Taylor stared at him. For a few heartbeats she said nothing. Her free hand lifted, covering her mouth. When she finally spoke, her voice hardly rose above a whisper. "Are you serious now?" "Completely." She examined his face, trying for any indication that this was an impulse, loneliness, or a reaction to the long, tangled mess with Sheila. She found none. Only peaceful certainty. The silence extended. Outside, the city carried on, unnoticed. The candlelight in the room revealed a slight sheen of tears in Taylor's eyes. She breathed slowly. Then she nodded, a faint, almost incredulous action that rose in intensity. "Yes." Deacon's face lit up with a smile that seemed to erase years. He slipped the plain ring onto her finger. Nothing spectacular, just a clean band that fit the woman in front of him, and rose to take her into his arms. Taylor gripped hard, her face crushed against his shoulder. "I didn't expect this," she mumbled. "Not tonight. Not like this." "Neither did I for a long time," he responded. "But I'm sure." They were silent for a time, the proposition sinking into the peace of the place. Taylor finally pulled back enough to look at him again. "Steffy is going to lose her mind when she finds out." Deacon's expression was solid. "I understand. And we will deal with it." Taylor nodded, a worried expression on her face. She was aware of her daughter's sentiments toward Deacon and the tangled thread that still connected so many of them to Sheila. But for tonight, she decided not to let that shadow interfere with the enjoyment. She leaned in and kissed him, cementing the response she had given. When Steffy and Finn returned to their suite in Monaco, it was already dark. Steffy's hand was bandaged. She sat on the side of the bed as Finn checked the dressing once more. The past confrontation remained between them, worsened by the fact that Sheila had saved her life. "She didn't have to come back," Finn explained quietly. Steffy gazed at the floor. "I know. I am not asking you to forgive her. I am not even asking you to change your feelings. I just want you to know that I never wanted her here. I tried to keep her away." Steffy raised her gaze. The rage had subsided into something more complicated. Exhaustion combined with the leftover adrenaline from nearly falling. "Believe you. But that doesn't make things any easier." They continued to converse for quite some time after that. About the past. About Hayes. Finn always seemed to be in an impossible situation between the mother who had nearly ruined them and the wife, who had every right to seek separation. No clean resolution appeared. Nothing was expected. However, the conversation itself felt like a reprieve from the afternoon's wrath. Later, while standing on the balcony, Steffy glanced out over the black waters. Sheila was somewhere in the metropolis below, packing, waiting, or planning her next move. Steffy was no longer sure which. The near fall had transformed something, even if she wasn't ready to define it. Taylor and Deacon sat on the couch in Los Angeles, the ring catching the dim light with each movement of her hand. The future they had just settled on felt simultaneously fragile and sturdy. They talked gently about the upcoming days, the conversations that would have to take place after Steffy and Finn returned, and the cautious road they would have to take. 2 cities. There are 2 sets of alternatives. One family remains tied by old hurts and new promises. The night stretched on, carrying everything onward. The warm light of a Monaco afternoon poured through the antique chapel's tall windows, spreading long golden hues on the stone floor where Steffy Forrester Finnegan waited. She had purposely chosen this location, the same hallowed site where Finn had appeared to her as a miracle years before after she had been informed he was gone for good. The recollection remained in her bones. She could practically feel the surge of comfort and love that had overwhelmed her at the sight of his face, like if the universe had righted itself in an instant. Today she wanted to reclaim that feeling. The trip was planned for both professional and personal refreshment. Ridge and Brooke were close, handling Forrester Creations' foreign relations, but Steffy had set aside this special time for herself and Finn. She straightened her plain dress, fixed her hair, and looked at her phone once more. Finn texted that his flight had arrived and he was on his way. Any minute now. She strolled outside into the brilliant Mediterranean air, the aroma of salt and citrus wafting from the harbor below. Tourists moved past in loose groupings. Steffy hardly noticed them. Her thoughts were on the man she loved, the children waiting at home, and the fragile peace they had battled so hard to maintain. Sheila Carter's name lingered at the edge of every peaceful moment, like a shadow that refused to fade. Finn had promised to keep his distance. Steffy believed him because she had to. A figure toward the far side of the square piqued her interest. A woman wearing a wide-brimmed hat and sunglasses, with her scarf pulled high, stands too motionless. Something about her posture, the angle of her shoulders, and the way she looked at the church doors shot an icy spike into Steffy's chest. Recognition landed like a smack. Sheila. Steffy was frozen for a second. Then wrath erupted so quickly that she became dizzy. She took huge strides across the square, her heels striking the stone with such force that it echoed. Sheila froze in response to the sound. The sunglasses dropped slightly, showing the familiar, calculating eyes. "You," Steffy murmured, her voice low and shaky. "You actually followed him here." Sheila lifted both hands in an attempt to seem cool but failed. "Steffy, please. I merely wanted. You always want the same thing. To insert oneself into an unwelcome situation. To poison any good we can create." Steffy's hands tightened at her sides. "Finn said you should stay away. He implored you. And you came nonetheless. I had to see him. I needed to know he was safe," Sheila said, her voice cracking. "After everything, after the divorce from Deacon, after all the years I spent trying to prove I could change." Steffy's laugh was harsh and unfunny. "You do not change. You plot. You're stalking. You demolish. You shot him. You left him to die. You led me to assume he was gone. And now you stand here in the one place that meant something pure to us, pretending this is about love." People nearby started to look over. Steffy didn't care. Years of worry, sleepless nights watching Hayes and Kelly, and persistent low-grade terror that Sheila might find another way in, all came rushing out at once. "You will leave," Steffy stated. "You'll get on the next plane and never see my family again. If I see you within 100 yards of my husband or my children, I will ensure that every relevant authority is aware of who you are and what you have done." Sheila's face stiffened. "You can't keep me away from my own son forever. Watch me." Finn arrived at the edge of the plaza, luggage still in hand. His face pale as he took in the scene. He dropped the bag and ran the final few steps. "Steffy," she turned on him. "You knew. You knew she was here but didn't inform me. I attempted to send her back. On the plane, I advised her to keep away. I promised not to say anything if she just left us alone. His voice was hoarse. I've never wanted this. I simply wanted the two of us here as planned. Steffy looked from Finn to Sheila, then back again. The reunion she had pictured, the peaceful reproduction of that previous miracle, lay shattered at her feet. She turned away from both of them and hurried toward the chapel steps, desperate for space and air that didn't taste of betrayal. Inside the chilly stone stillness, she placed her forehead against a pillar and breathed until the tremor subsided. Finn arrived a minute later alone. Sheila had vanished temporarily, but the harm had been done.